Check out the company YouTube channel, follow key leaders on social media, listen to corporate media interviews, talk to current and former employees. Getting a job in marketing sounds complicated, so how can candidates stand out and be noticed? Hiring managers often have trouble quantifying better, so what can recent graduates do to be different? Marketing and sales are full of myths, misconceptions, and even flat-out lies. So join us as we relive our early years and explore some unique ways to land that first illustrious marketing job.
Hello and welcome to the Rethink Marketing Podcast. I'm Eric Reed, joined by Mr. Marketing, the proselytizer of precise personnel picking, Colin Jeffries. How are you, Colin?
I'm just envisioning myself out holding a sign on a street corner saying the end is near, hire the right people, or something of that nature, the proselytizer.
Hey, nice segue, because the end is near for many graduating students coming out of marketing school. You like that?
That was excellent.
Seriously, 'tis the season for graduation, right? So marketing is a growing, evolving field that usually pays pretty well. I know there's probably some eye rolling out there, but seriously, it is attracting a lot of attention. So, what do you want to jump into on this episode here today?
Absolutely. So I do want to clarify before we dive in too far that some of our episodes are take notes, think about something, maybe marinate on it for a while. This, I think, will be a very tactical episode where we jump into real world experience shares and some recommendations that we have for recent marketing grads on landing that first job.
Colin, let me just stop you right here to set you up a little bit more to the audience, because in all honesty, your background with the amount of teams that you've led, the diversity of the teams that you've led, you've done a lot of hiring in the marketing space. So I think you'll have a lot to bring to this today.
Excellent. I appreciate that, Eric. Today for our audience, we're going to unpack 3 myths around getting that first illustrious marketing job. The first myth, and I fell prey to this, is that you need to be well networked. That sounds good on the surface. It might be true in some cases. It certainly was true up until relatively recently. But I would argue, as somebody who has made multiple marketing hires, like you said, and I know you've made marketing and sales hires as well, that show and tell is now a lot more important than being known. With the growth of remote work, with the growth in candidate pools and the growth in competition for certain positions in marketing, it's crucial not just to be known and liked by somebody at the company, but it's really important to be able to showcase what you have done. I think that's actually relatively easy now with online portfolios, websites, things of that nature. Anything you would add to myth number 1 on the importance of showing and telling your capstone work, your coursework, your volunteering, maybe some internships, or even some work that you have done for organizations that's kind of loosely related to your major. There's still a lot of things that can be done from a sales, customer service, marketing perspective across jobs.
Yeah, for sure. The only thing that I think about that when I hear about that is that showing is telling today, So it's not so much show and tell. It's really like, what's the rethought version of what telling is? And in today's world, it's showing. So I think that's the nail on the head, what you talked about there, which kind of ties in it directly with kind of like myth and truth number 2. There's all this talk about practice your elevator pitch. Be ready to tell people what you do or what your strengths are or what have you in that quick moment of opportunity. And I think this ties a lot into closely to the show and tell, because the actual truth of this is that your elevator pitch is not as important as your social media footprint. This is, I feel pretty strongly about this. And again, it's because your social media footprint is showing people who you are. It's showing people what you do. You talk a lot about, and you can just kind of elaborate on this, Colin, you talk a lot about, posting the right content, sharing the right content, aligning your personal brand, which ties into this very directly, with content that you want to be known for. And so your elevator pitch is somebody, think of it this way, somebody taking a 10 to 15 second look at your LinkedIn page. That's your elevator pitch, your social footprint. What are you communicating in that? that's, not sure how you feel about that, and but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
No, I think that's exactly right. This is an opportunity.
And aligning with the right content.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I kind of propped you up because you do a good job of it. You have a very good understanding of your story is told by the content you align with and the stuff that you post out, because that's what has to show to people when they're looking at your social profiles. That's your elevator pitch.
That's a really good point. This is a great opportunity to show not necessarily thought leadership, because it's probably unreasonable to expect a recent graduate with a freshly minted marketing degree to have a lot of thought leadership in the space, but it's certainly an opportunity to showcase understanding. So now you can interact with authors and publishers and content creators and influencers related to entrepreneurship and business development. And that's a lot more powerful than that 60-second spiel about your career goals, let's say.
Yeah, 100%. And then, to go into myth 3 and truth 3, Colin, this is a space that we have spent a lot of time in. And this is a space we can probably spend majority of the time because of this episode, because it is a little bit about philosophy, a new culture, a new way of doing business. And it's not a new way, it's a new way of looking at it. The word better needs to be taken out of your definition of who you are. If I said chicken's better than steak, well, if you don't eat chicken, then it's not. If I say chicken's better than corn and you don't eat meat, then it's not. So being better is risky because you don't know who you're. I mean, it has to be measured up against some kind of baseline, and it's relative. Being different, now that's easy to define. So there's this need that we think that we have to be better than the other candidates. We're competitive. It's hard to believe that we don't want to present ourselves as being better. I guess where I want to get people to rethink is being different can have people make a determination that you are better. And in some cases, they won't think you're better, and that's okay. You don't get every job you apply for. You don't get every sale you pitch on, but you need to be true to who you are. And so I think that you have to be different than other candidates, and this can manifest in a lot of ways. And I know we've talked about it. So in the past, we've talked about this topic a lot, and I say that on our podcast a lot. But the reality is we do. And so, what are some of the ways you see this manifesting, or some of the ways that you can speak to on this?
Definitely. So, before I started hiring people, I fell into myth number 3 that you had to be better than other candidates. But what I found is a lot of hiring managers don't have a specific rubric where they can kind of stack rank people on an even playing field. This person has design experience. This person has business analytics experience. This person has sales experience. This person has programming experience. And so it's very, very difficult to take those nuances and those individual traits and try to select the best candidate. But it becomes pretty easy to figure out who's different. And so I see that in a lot of instances looking like particular skills that are called out, particular types of experience, legal experience, financial services experience, healthcare experience, those types of things. It becomes pretty easy to be different if you're able to call those out. But for a competitive person, it's hard not to try to twist those and make it appear that you are better. Now, obviously, if you're comparing work product tests or you ask everyone the same exact questions, their passion, their level of enthusiasm, the way that they answer questions can be pretty obvious. But let's not forget that hiring managers are human. And in a lot of instances, they want to hire somebody that they think has the most upside, not necessarily the person who is quote unquote the best.
Yeah. Was Ryan Leaf better than Peyton Manning? Or, that's all based on, assumption. Was he different? Yeah, you could make a case who was different. I love that you kind of went into talking about a hiring manager, because to flip this on its side a little bit, I would just say mostly this is we're talking about entering the marketing place, and surely there's some tips that hiring managers in marketing and sales can pick up on here. But I think the thing I would hammer home on that is don't let people talk about how they're better. Make them talk about how they're different, because different might be exactly what you're looking for in your business. And I think different also says a lot about the coachability and the fitting into a culture and a lot of different things like that. People who understand how they might be different than other people out there, they're not saying that I'm better or that I'm worse. What they're saying is, I know who I am. Here's how I'm different. Here's what I believe. I think I can contribute to your organization, but if you pull these things out of me in the interview, then you have a better chance of understanding what I can bring to your company.
Well, and think about how many hiring managers ask that question. Why are you the best fit for this role? When instead they could be asking, why are you a different or unique fit for this role? Giving candidates the opportunity to dive into, I have this experience, or I grew up in this situation, or I learned this from a particular life experience. There's a lot that can go into being different.
That's a great point, because when you ask somebody, why are you the best candidate? You know, in fairness, not everybody says they are. I mean, I've run into a lot of people who I know their personality would say, well, I don't know if I'm the best, but I know here's what I would bring to the table. So there are some people who get this and they want to be different. But typically when you ask somebody, why would you be better than anybody else? You know, that's just forcing you to say here, here, and here. When you say, how would you be different? Then you have an opportunity to hear maybe something that the person says that be like, that's exactly what we're looking for. And so I just think it's a good tip to maybe switch up your questioning a little bit from the hiring manager side.
I think that's a great point, Eric. Really enjoyed today's conversation. Man, what a time to be in marketing. I mean, the pay can be good. There's a lot of upward mobility. That's usually not a problem for great marketers. Traditional career advice may be hamstringing your job prospects, though, especially for new grads. So if you want to earn that first job in this amazing and outstanding field, follow these 3 steps, and we think you'll have a big leg up on the rest of the competition.
Absolutely. And Colin, let me just thank Arrasmith Promotions for sponsoring today's episode of the Rethink Marketing Podcast. I'm not going to tell you Jerry and his team are the best. I'm going to tell you that Jerry and his team do some incredible things and help a lot of businesses get their message out there, tell their story with brand awareness merchandise. So check them out at arrasmithpromotions.com. That's ARRASMITH promotions.com. And until next time, keep rethinking those common assumptions. Thanks for joining us today on the Rethink Marketing Podcast. We would love to hear from you. If you have questions, comments, or you just want to check out Season 1 or Season 2 episodes, or maybe you have a killer alliteration you want to share with us, you can do so by going to rethinkmarketingpodcast.com.
I'm not going to ask for a review, but Eric and I would sure be thrilled if you left one for us on your favorite platform. Visit rethinkmarketingpodcast.com to connect with Colin or Eric. And until next time, keep rethinking those common assumptions.